infallibility is not known by the external appearance. You can't identify whether somebody is an infallible imam by their external appearance, how they look or how they dress. But rather, infallibility, an infallible imam is only identified by him being mentioned, his name being written or foretold. That is the only way that you know if he's an imam or not an imam, if he's infallible or not infallible. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الإمام المهدينا وسلم تسليما السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear brother and companion Javed Al-Ghani Billah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear father.
Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me here.
So today is going to be a little bit of a different type of episode. You brought to my attention today this clip that is of a scholar, and the scholar is talking to his viewers, and he has a YouTube channel, as far as I understand, that has something like 2.5 million subscribers. I doubt that he accumulated those subscribers in a legit way. Everybody knows these days that people sell used YouTube channels and then they just change the names to it. And a lot of these scholars are known for doing things like this in order that they may kind of appear like they have lots of followers when in fact they don't. But nonetheless, because of the fact that he does have this channel with so many followers and he is stating that this Tao is false and attacking me, let's hear what he has to say and let's respond, shall we? But we're not going to be responding to him today because there's nothing that we can say or do that will change this individual's mind. This person has already made up his mind, but rather what we're going to do is we're going to respond to him in order that we may highlight his argumentation for why it is that I am false and offer me the opportunity to respond, and we let the viewers decide, shall we?
Yes.
Okay, let's start. Let's hear what he has to say.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إخواني، ظهر هذا الشخص منذ تقريب 7 أشهر وهو يدعي بأنه الإمام المهدي المنتظر عليه سلام الله.
All right, so the first thing is that he says this man, there's no power nor might except for Allah. This man appeared 7 months ago, and he's claiming that he is the promised Mahdi. If the scholar means that I am claiming to be the 12th Imam, Imam al-Mahdi, because he's a 12er Shia, Imam Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, well, first off, that's absolutely not what I'm claiming. What it is that he's saying is that that I'm claiming to be the promised Mahdi. And I just wanted to correct for everybody, because if he means that I'm claiming to be the 12th Imam, then automatically right off the bat, he has lied. And if he has lied in one thing, then he can lie in all things. All right, let's continue, shall we?
أخذ يتلو بخطابه بين الحضور، طبعا الحاضرات نساء سافرات ووراء صور تظهر نساء سافرات وحكي. المهم، فهو من كلامه يشبه 100% كلام اليمانيين، وخصوصا في تلاوة صلواتهم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما، مثل ما يقولون.
So then the scholar proceeds to state that I was giving a speech, and I was giving a speech to an audience of people that were immoral. There were women in there that were uncovered, that were naked, so to speak, and he's referring to the fact that they were not wearing the headdress. Obviously, he's referring to women in the audience, and he's referring also to perhaps some of the images, the paintings that were on the wall in which they are, it depicts certain saints and holy women who have come throughout human history that were not wearing head veils or headdresses. And I'm not sure why a respectable scholar would attack the people that are in the audience who are there to listen. I mean, let's assume that I am a misguided individual and that these people are fooled by me. Why is it the case that they deserve to be attacked? To what point does that prove? Nothing, but he seeks to just kind of discredit me. And then he says that our way of saying the salawat, saying the peace, sending peace and blessings upon Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, because we add on there the Imams and the Mahdis, he says, well, this makes me think that they are an offshoot or part of the followers of the Yemeni, which in that aspect, it is true.
It's strange that you have these scholars who straight away, like you said, mentioned attack the innocent people and what would be perceived the congregation. And how can someone justify that, to call people they don't know lewd and immoral when these guys are supposed to be guiding the society?
Well, in regards to this, Sheikh, you see, because the 12er Shia, they have something which is called muta marriage. And for them, and it's very well known in Iran and in these countries, that muta marriage is kind of this temporary marriage whereby an individual can go to a scholar like that. He can pay him some money, a couple $100 or whatever it is, the currency of their country or the rate that it's going at. And he can establish a temporary marriage contract between him and a girl. And sometimes people don't know where to get these girls for temporary marriage. And so they'll just call the Sheikh, and he has, he's in contact with, women that are covered, that they wear the hijab or they wear the khimar, and then under an Islamic umbrella, a religious title, so to speak, he will take money from the male and he will make a temporary marriage contract. He'll marry them to each other for a certain time period. It's usually like an hour or 2 or 3 or maybe a day or 2, whereby the man can enjoy the female in a sexual manner. And so for the scholar, that's totally okay. There's no problem in that. These are decent, good women, but at the same time, it is an indecent thing if a woman is listening to a lecture but does not wear a headdress or a head veil. That's his view on things, and it's okay. Let's continue and see what it is that he has to say further than that.
قلت وأنه ادعى الإمام بأنه الإمام المهدي، وتلا وصية قال أنها وصية رسول الله لأمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام، ودعا الناس إلى حاكمية الله كما هم شعارهم الحكم لله والبيعة لله وهذه المسائل. فأخذ الناس يسألون عنه عن طريق الاتصال، عن طريق المراسلة، ويقولون شيخنا بين.
So he says that basically I read forward the will of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I was calling the people towards the supremacy of Allah. And he says that this is our motto, so to speak, the call to the supremacy of God, and the implication, the way that he's saying it, and this is their motto, the supremacy of God. Which would indicate that it's not his motto or not part of his religion. So it seems that the Sheikh, the scholar, does not believe in the fact that only God can appoint the ruler and nobody else is allowed to do so. And that's a little bit problematic because it's kind of like the fundamental core belief in all of Shia Islam. That's why they branch off from the mainstream Islam is because mainstream Islam believes that other people that are not appointed by God can end up being the rulers, and that's why they followed Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, the Umayyad, the Bani Umayyah caliphs, and also the Bani Abbas, whereby the Shia said no. All these years, they said that nobody can appoint the ruler except for God, and that's why they held on tight to those who were appointed in the will. Those 12 imams, actually, in the same will that I read, and the Mahdi's after that. And then he says that after the video came out of my speech, many people contacted him and they were asking him to clarify my matter. And so he felt, obviously, that it was a religious obligation. I'm out there making these statements, and he's getting so many phone calls, so many emails asking him, what is his thoughts about me? And so now he's getting ready to share his thoughts. Let's hear what he has to say.
إخواني أبين هسه وضعيته بعد ما كثر السؤال عنه مجددا. إخواني تعلمون أنه منذ غيبة الإمام واليوم الله هذا ظهر الكثير ممن يدعي إما سفارة الإمام أو أنه الإمام المهدي عليه السلام. مرة يطلع لك شاب، مرة يطلع لك شايب، مرة يطلع لك مسودن، مرة يطلع لك عاقل، مرة يطلع عنا أشكال الناس وأشكال البشر الذين ادعوا أنهم الإمام المهدي عليه السلام. يعني القضية مو جديدة، القضية أبدا مو جديدة. ونحن نعلم إخواني اللي يريد يعرف وما تنطلي عليه هاي المسائل، أو بالعراق نسميها الكلاوات، حتى ما تنطلي عليه هاي الخدع والخزعبلات والكلاوات، أنه عليه أن يدرس قضية الإمام المهدي عليه السلام ويعرف من هو المهدي. هو أشبه الناس شمائلا بصفات جده رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله.
Okay, so there he begins to say that basically this is nothing new. This happens all the time. All the time there's somebody who's popping out of nowhere claiming to be an ambassador of Imam al-Mahdi or a representative of Imam al-Mahdi or Imam al-Mahdi himself. He's like, one day, you'll have somebody who's an old man popping up to claim it. Sometimes one day you'll have somebody who's young that's popping up claiming to be that. So this is nothing new, people. And anybody who knows and has studied the case of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, is not going to be deceived by these types of trickery and deceit. So basically, what the scholar is saying is that the existence of false claimants throughout time means that this claim is also false. Well, by that type of logic, then there's never going to be a true Imam al-Mahdi that's going to come out, because Imam al-Mahdi has to come out at some point in time, and because all these false people came out beforehand, he will definitely come out after them. And if I'm automatically dismissed because of this argumentation, well, then Imam al-Mahdi also would the same thing. He would be dismissed because of the existence of false claimants, and that's an unfortunate and illogical argumentation that we wouldn't expect would come out of somebody who allegedly had spent so many years in the Hawza studying the hadith of the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, and earned the ability to wear that turban. In fact, throughout history, Javed, there were many people that claimed to be false prophets. In fact, Jesus, he emphasizes in the New Testament about the coming of false prophets after him. He describes them as wolves in sheep's clothing. And indeed, he warns the people not to follow them. And after him, there does appear over and over and over and over and over again throughout the centuries that follow Jesus Christ, people that were claiming to be the return of Jesus himself, or claiming to be the Messiah of Judaism, or claiming to be a new prophet. And if we take the logic of this and the line of argumentation of this scholar, then we would also have to dismiss the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because the Prophet Muhammad is a man who claims to be a prophet after a long line of false prophets. So what is the fault on the Christian who rejects the Prophet Muhammad and says, well, Jesus said, beware of false prophets. Many false prophets appeared after that. And so anybody who's familiar with the case of Jesus knows already that that this type of trickery and deception will exist, and therefore, automatically Prophet Muhammad is false. It is a disaster that somebody like that would make the types of claims and come to the type of conclusion that he's coming to, because it leads people astray. And just like Jesus said about the Pharisees and the rabbis, it is people like this today that are actually making their followers more worthy of hellfire than they are, and breeding, brainwashing and educating a generation of people who might not be as literate as he is. He's turning them into trolls and people who want to kill and fight the true Mahdi.
I was just noticed, Father, he didn't dismiss the will. He just brushed it off. He didn't say straight away. So does that mean he acknowledges that there is a will in their books, or is he just...
I mean, like you said, Javed, it is, at the end of the day, in his books.
Yeah.
So how could he dismiss it? Let's listen further. Let's give him more chance. Maybe he's going to come back and kind of clarify his position. Let's see.
ويظهر وعمره بالثلاثينات، وتعلمون أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله معروفة شمائله عن طريق الكثير من الكتب، كما أنه عليه السلام إذا يظهر في مكة وتمتد دعوته إلى المدينة وإلى الكوفة وأنه لا يختلف عليه اثنان أبدا.
Okay, so this is, wow, this is incredible what he says now. He says, this guy actually says that it is known, the case of the Mahdi is known. He's going to appear in his 30s. Well, I actually started the calling of the people towards the Mahdi when I was 32, and there are narrations that state specifically that a Mahdi appears at the age of 32. So if we're talking about age, I already matched that. And so he can't really use that as an argumentation. But that's not the disaster. The disaster is what he says after that. He says that the Mahdi appears in Mecca, and his da'wah reaches Medina, and then it reaches Kufa in Iraq, and he says, and no two people will ever differ concerning him. Wow. So what does this mean? This means that he is stating that the Mahdi will not have any enemies at all, or nobody that will ever belie him. The moment that he appears, he makes his claim, and he's making it in Mecca, and then all of a sudden, all those people that hear his claim, all those people that see him, nobody differs. Everybody says that is the Mahdi, and then the news reaches all the way to Medina. Medina believes that he is the Mahdi because no two people differ. And then somehow it skips over to Iraq, maybe by means of a phone call or something like that. And then everybody in Kufa agree. And then once Mecca, Medina, Kufa, they all agree because there's no two people that are disagreeing. The rest of the world agrees that he is the Mahdi. And so he is now belied Muhammad and the family of Muhammad in hundreds of narrations, if not thousands of narrations that explicitly state that the Mahdi comes forward and he makes his call, and then Iblis makes a call after Gabriel's call, and the people become confused. And the narrations that state that the Mahdi has an enemy, which is the Sufyani, and there's many people that are following the Sufyani, and that the Mahdi, he has enemies from the scholars, that the scholars are the first people to oppose him and fight against him, and that he must slaughter many of them between Najaf and Kufa and other places in Iraq, and that it is the Shia that actually come out and say, "Go home, O son of Fatima, we have no need for you." And the narrations that state that the entire world gathers to fight against the Mahdi. And the narrations that state that the companions of the Mahdi, they run away from him, and the narrations that state that the Shia are even not at peace, and death does not come to the Mahdi until the hearts of the Shia are at peace, that he is neither a Dajjal, Antichrist, nor is he a devil, a shaitan. That's how much they differ in regards to the Mahdi, and how much doubt they have, and how much enemies the Mahdi has. So how is it that no two people would differ in regards to the Mahdi? I mean, what this scholar is saying, he is literally saying the exact same thing that many Jewish rabbis say about the Messiah when they're arguing that Jesus is a false Messiah and a liar and a false claimant. They say that the true Messiah will come and nobody in the world is going to deny him or be able to differ in regards to him, and that he will bring peace instantly across the planet without spilling any blood. So now, unfortunately, we're left with one of two conclusions that we must draw from the words of the scholar. Either the scholar is intentionally lying to mislead people and to discredit me, and so it's okay for him to tell a lie, and he knows that he's telling a lie, but he's just doing it anyway, so that he can gain views on YouTube, which is a disaster. Or he actually doesn't know. He doesn't know the narrations, or he forgot the narrations, or he himself is unfamiliar with what Muhammad and the family of Muhammad said about the Mahdi, and that is a disaster as well. Let's carry on and see what this guy has to say.
إذا ظهر سلام الله عليه فيظهر أمره جليا لا اختلاف فيه، مو ويطلع وين قلت مكة، مو يطلع في فرنسا، مدري بأمريكا، مدري بسان فرانسيسكو، والله ما أعرف وين طالع هو هذا، ويخطب بالوادم.
So, and then he says that and that he appears in Mecca. He's stressing on this. He appears in Mecca. He appears in Mecca. He appears in Mecca. He doesn't pop out from France or San Francisco or wherever it is that this guy is appearing or speaking from. I'm not speaking from France, nor am I speaking from San Francisco. I'm actually speaking from the UK. That's where I gave my speech from. And once again, I reiterate, I am not even claiming to be the 12th Imam, Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, whom they believe it is the 12th Imam, Imam al-Mahdi, who appears first in Mecca. So really what it is that he's even saying to disprove me is irrelevant, because the character that they believe appears in Mecca is not even me, nor am I claiming to be that character.
وهاي الملابس الغربية التي يلبسها عجمية وغريبة عن لبس العرب ولبس محمد وآل محمد صلوات الله وسلامه عليهم أجمعين.
Okay. So then he starts attacking my physical appearance, and he says that a further proof why it is that I'm false is because of the strange Western-styled clothing that I am wearing. It is not the clothing of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, peace be upon them. I don't even know what to say, Javed. I don't even know how this scholar can respect himself at this point, or how anybody can even respect what it is that he's saying. Every prophet and messenger, it is clearly stated and it's known that they would appear to their people wearing the clothing of the time of their people. He says that my clothing is the clothing that is strange, when in actuality, it is his clothing that is strange, and it's unfamiliar and it's alien looking to the people of the time, and also to the majority of the population that live on the planet. And if you kind of examine what he's actually trying to say, he's painting a picture for the viewers, whereby through his argumentation, he is stating in a hidden way, in a thinly veiled way, that the Mahdi, in order to be the Mahdi, has to look like he's looking. They have to wear clothing like he is wearing. And he's saying that this is the clothing of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though there is no narration that states that the Mahdi comes forward wearing the same clothing that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is wearing. And furthermore, there's a narration that says from Ali Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, and it was narrated by Muhammad al-Baqir and Ja'far al-Sadiq and Musa Kazim, that there is not an imam that comes from us except that he's infallible. And then it says, and infallibility is not known by the external appearance. You can't identify whether somebody is an infallible imam by their external appearance, how they look or how they dress. But rather, infallibility, an infallible imam is only identified by him being mentioned, his name being written or foretold. That is the only way that you know if he's an imam or not an imam, if he's infallible or not infallible. And so it's not me who is now belying the Sheikh. It is Muhammad and the family of Muhammad who are outright calling this man a liar. Yeah, no, he's definitely using physical appearance to try to attack my character, and he's trying to do it in a semi-comedic way, in a way that would incite people to mock and dismiss. And he's not just doing it in a speech, but if you look here in the bottom, what's written in Arabic, it says, the appearance of a young man, the appearance of a youth, a cute youth, it says there, cute. Literally, it spells out in Arabic the English word cute. ظهور شاب cute يدعي بأنه الإمام المهدي عليه السلام. The appearance of a cute young man who's claiming that he is Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. He says cute. What he actually is intending to do is to discredit me. He means by cute that I am not a real man like him, or like Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam will be. Now, this is what he means by cute. So he's actually using it as a form of insult. And even though I haven't insulted him, he attacks the way that I look, and he attacks my clothing. So it's all good. But I guess these this type of method only reflects on the individual. Him using these tactics, I believe that they only show how weak he is intellectually, and it further exposes, his immaturity, and exposes the fact that this individual should never be speaking in the name of religion, and it should make people think and wonder and contemplate for themselves when they envision, when they look at his face. I hope they put his face on the screen here, and people remember everything that this man said, and they ask themselves, is this the face of one of the people of paradise? Are these the words of somebody who is calling people towards heaven? Or is this one of those imams of misguidance? Is this an individual who, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi forewarned us about and said that they are the most evil of creation? Is this an individual who is a liar and who leads people astray, a wolf in sheep's clothing, an idol who doesn't benefit nor harm, and who wears and dresses in the costume of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi, seeking to deceive and to fool people? Is he resembling somebody who they want to trust their hereafter with, or does he resemble one of the apes and the monkeys that were seen by the Prophet in his vision jumping on his platform? And I don't mean by that he resembles a monkey or an ape in his physical exterior appearance, but I mean by the way that he is behaving and acting, making sounds on the platform and grumbling in ways that don't make sense. Let's continue.
كما أن الذي يظهر لا بد له من آيات وبراهين ومعاجز حتى ليبين للناس أنه صاحب الدعوة الإلهية، وأنه إذا ظهر يملأها عدلا وقسطا بعدما ملئ ظلما وجورا. أنت اطلعت، أنت الشاب الكيوت، شنو إنجازاتك؟ إنجازاتك أنك تطلع على التلفزيون وتتعلم لك تشمح شاية أمام نساء سافرات، أمام نساء سافرات.
Okay, so now here he's saying that, in order to prove yourself, you have to have miracles. What have you done? What have you done? He says, that you appeared on TV, or you memorized a couple words and you speak in front of a bunch of immoral women. What are your accomplishments or your achievements? Well, I appreciate the question. And to answer him on what my accomplishments or achievements are, one, I have claimed to be in the will of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I came to the people and said my name was written in the will of the Prophet Muhammad. I came with a letter of appointment in the same way that Muhammad came and he said I was mentioned by the Prophet Jesus, in the same way that Jesus said I was mentioned, my name was mentioned on the tongue of Isaiah and in your scripture, the apparent scriptures that you have between your hands. So that's what Muhammad and Jesus did. They didn't come and say we were mentioned in a hidden text, or they said our names are mentioned by them, but the words got lost. No, they came with the apparent scripture. Muhammad says I'm the comforter who was promised by Jesus. Jesus says here I am, mentioned by Isaiah. And the same is true for me. I say, hey, here, just as the narrations state that the Mahdi's name is mentioned in the apparent will, the will which is in the hands of the people. I say, in your books, my name is mentioned, Abdullah, in the will of Rasulullah. So that's my first accomplishment. Second accomplishment is that I wrote a book called The Goal of the Wise, and I've been basically preaching, holding lectures, speaking for a while now with all of you. and doing it in a public manner right now. And I've displayed the knowledge which I have gained from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and from Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. And I put it in between the hands of the people. It's a book that's almost 700 pages. I put it in English and I put it in Arabic. Published it in English and in Arabic, and I have touched on many different topics in that book, and I have put it forward in order that the people may evaluate the knowledge that I come with and see if it is something which is divine or not, and decide for themselves. That's my second accomplishment. My third accomplishment is that I have raised the banner of allegiance and supremacy is to God, and that is something that the Prophet Muhammad did, Imam Ali did, and every other prophet and messenger from Adam's time until now. They all called towards the supremacy of God, that only God can appoint the ruler, and I have done the same. Here is a picture of myself raising the black banner physically, and since 2015, I have been calling people towards the supremacy of God. In addition to that, I've told people to make istikhara about me, and there have been hundreds of people, thousands of people around the world that have all made istikhara and asked God, God, we believe that you do not misguide a sincere servant. Tell us, is this da'wah true or not? And they make the istikhara, and every time they've testified that the istikhara told them that this path is true. And we see the same thing happening in the hadith, where one of the companions of Imam al-Rida, after the passing of Musa Kazim, is unsure if Imam al-Rida is a true Imam or not. So he says, I made an istikhara, and it showed me that he was the truth, and so I believed. And it's a verifiable method of determining, if somebody is a hujjah or not. It's acceptable because it's mentioned in the narrations and because people have used it to determine. In terms of miracles, I don't even really want to mention them, but what I can say is that that there are many people in the community and people who have known me and been around me over these past years in the da'wah, who they themselves have claimed and testified to have experienced a multitude of miracles with me, miracles that range from healing the blind all the way unto the very disappearance of the moon itself, and a whole lot of other miracles in between. And those miracles were documented, broadcast on Chasing a Miracle, and on our satellite station that we had, and it was a show whereby Sarah Batul, God bless her, and James Pollard, a British Ansari who believed in this call, they went around and they interviewed the people and told the stories and basically preserved the accounts of those who experienced the miracles and testified to that. In terms of, so that's another accomplishment. Another accomplishment is dreams. There's many people who came into this call after seeing dreams of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, or the prophets and the messengers saying that this path was the true path, or seeing me in visions alongside with Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. So Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, God Almighty, they testify to the fact that I'm telling the truth in the kingdoms of the heavens, the malakut, the dream world, and the istikharas have come back positive. The miracles are present. The law of knowing the proof of God through the will, through the banner, through the knowledge, it's all fulfilled. The criteria is fulfilled, has been fulfilled by myself as it has been fulfilled by every other prophet and messenger that's ever came before. And there were even, some prophets and messengers that didn't have any miracles at all, actually. And we have examples of these prophets and messengers that came and they called people towards God, but they didn't display a miracle, so to speak, like Hosea or John the Baptist, or like Seth, or so many other prophets and messengers that came before. And so by his logic, the absence of miracles in the lives of these prophets and messengers would invalidate their claim. But alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, at least we have people that have testified in this call. Let's carry on.
يا أخي هو نفسه يكذب نفسه فإخواني سوف يدعي من بعد هذا الكثير من المدعين الذين سوف يدعون بهتانا وزورا أنهم الإمام المهدي أو أنهم سفراء منه، وأن هذا الأمر لن يتوقف حتى يظهر الإمام عليه السلام. فثبتوا أركان عقيدتكم وأيمانكم لئلا تزل قدم بعد ثبوتها، وأن القابض على دينه في هذه الأيام كالقابض على جمرة بيده أو كخارط القتاد. نسأل الله لنا ولكم حسن الخاتمة. لا تنسوني والدي من خالص دعائكم، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Yeah, he says, okay, people, so in summary, this guy is belying his own self. It doesn't even need any more further proof. Like, he is a proof of his own lies and the fact that he's a liar. And, then he says, like, let's just all, know that many other liars are going to come after him until the appearance of the Mahdi. And basically make dua for me, guys. Let's all hold on to our religion, as if we're holding on to a piece of coal or ember that's burning. And let's and then he makes dua basically that God grants him and everybody else like a good ending. And then he says, make dua for me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I'm not sure how or what it is that belies me. I mean, because he literally said nothing. This guy came out and his feeble attempt to discredit me consisted of basically, the argumentation that there's other false people that have claimed it before. So therefore I'm false, and that my clothing also is like weird and Western. And, for that reason, I'm false. And because I'm giving a speech from somewhere like San Francisco or France, then also I'm false. And because the women are not wearing hijab and he attacks them, so therefore it is false. As far as the hijab thing goes, we already made like a full speech about that, so I don't even want to get into it again. People can watch it on the channel and they'll know that hijab was not part of any commandment that ever came down or any jurisprudence that ever came down from God, whether it was with Muhammad, whether it was Jesus, whether it was with Moses. But even if it was, it's not appropriate for him at his age and in his position, and with that turban that he has sitting on top of his head, to insult people whom he's perceiving to be sinners. As Jesus said, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And certainly, if this man only reflected about his own lies and his own self, he would not have time to worry about whether or not the decent, good, pure, holy women that were present on that day are wearing the head veil or not. He should have been more concerned about the claims that I was making and prepared better before he came out with this video. But there it is. There's the case of a scholar who is misguiding his people and who doesn't know anything about religion. And I hope that this video, if anything, serves as a warning that people should never follow the likes of these wolves in sheep's clothing, because these are the imams of hellfire. And these are literally those whom are blind leaders that will destroy your soul, and lead you to a place of eternal damnation if you follow them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from the greatest fitna that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us of, the fitna that's greater than the Dajjal and the armies of Yazid, son of Muawiyah, and that is the fitna of the non-working scholars. From them the fitna came out, and to them it shall return. And la'natullah upon the zalimin, the liars and the oppressors, and those who are wrongdoers. Thank you so much, Javed.
Thank you, Father, for having me. Using this opportunity, it's so dangerous for people to follow their scholars blindly.
They have usurped, they've taken over the job of the imams. They've built a multi-billion-dollar business out of this, this religion thing, and so the appearance of the Mahdi himself is the biggest threat, because when he comes, their empire collapses, because the farm owner comes back and he wants to reclaim now his sheep, but they don't want to hand over the sheep, because the sheep pay them. They make money off the sheep, and they slaughter the sheep, and they don't have the best interest of the sheep in mind, and so they would never hand over the sheep back to Imam al-Mahdi. Imam al-Mahdi is going to have to fight them for that. And so let this be the first strike of the sword today, and let us reclaim back and free the people from the grasps of these non-working evil scholars, and let them revolt against them. Let them, never listen to them again. Thank you, Javed.
Thank you, Father.